Good evening. This is Judi Moreo, and this is the World of Book Reviews and Beyond. And tonight we are talking about this wonderful book, Is There a Hole in Your Bucket List? And our guest this evening is the author of this book, Marilyn Sherman. Marilyn, thank you for being here with us.
My pleasure.
I want you to tell us about the book because it's so exciting.
Well, everybody seems to know what a bucket list is. This book isn't about a bucket list of things you want to cross off before you kick the bucket. This book is about how we sometimes sabotage our own success as we try to fulfill our lifelong dreams or goals or aspirations. So picture a bucket with all of your dreams in it, and there seems to be a hole in it. Maybe a few holes, and those holes are created by fear, doubt, shame, insecurity. And so the book is about how to patch up those holes so that you can fulfill your dreams.
You know what I really liked about the book was that you gave us ways to patch up those holes.
Yes.
And I really enjoyed the book.
Good.
As you know, I'm a big bucket list person.
Yes, you are.
And I completed my bucket list this year, my 21 things to do before I die.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I don't want to kick the bucket quite yet.
No.
So I started a new list.
Perfect.
But this book is awesome in the fact that it talks about when we have doubt, and we all have doubt at some time or another. I mean, there are these people that just look like they're so together, and usually the ones that look the most together are the ones that are most insecure.
Yes.
And it's kind of surprising, isn't it?
Because you look at people and you look at them from a distance, and you put people on a pedestal and you think, oh, they've got it all together. They probably don't have any insecurity. They don't have any doubt or any fear. And you and I know that's not the case. Even the most famous people that we know, they suffer from fear or they suffer from insecurity. But the difference between really successful people and people who are not successful is that they accept it, acknowledge it, and then move on to overcome it. It's like, okay, I have some fear, I have some insecurity, but that's okay because I'm going to move through it.
Right.
What most people do is they allow their fear or whatever it is that's holding them back, they allow it to keep them where they are, like their comfort zone, instead of breaking through and stretching to the next level and fulfilling that next step or that next goal on their bucket list.
Yes. Marilyn, you're a very well-known international public speaker, and I understand that public speaking is the #1 fear of people in the world. Now, were you ever afraid?
Well, I'm not afraid of speaking because I've been doing it for 22 years full time. So I've got that part down. The part that gives me butterflies is I always want to make sure that my message is of value to that audience that paid me a lot of money to be there, right? Because my fear is that someone will say that wasn't worth it. So because of that little bit of fear or that little bit of doubt, that drives me, that makes me work harder, that makes me want to do the research on the client and the audience to make sure that my message is going to resonate with them and that it's going to be entertaining and fun and engaging so that they walk away with more hope and encouragement.
Right, yeah. I've been speaking for a long time as well, and I know that I sometimes still get butterflies before I walk on. In fact, most of the time I get butterflies before I go on stage. And it's because I want to be good.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people are that way, but it is a scary experience for people who are not used to walking on a stage and standing up in front of people. What did you tell them in here that they could do to get over that?
Well, I give the advice that was given to me when I was first starting out, because I was working for a public seminar company. This is way back in the 90s, right? So that dates me quite a bit. And I was used to audiences of only about 50, 60 people. And one day I looked at the roster, there was 225 people in my audience. So at that time, I was really nervous. So I called my mentor and I said, I'm freaking out here. And he asked me 2 questions that changed my life in terms of being a professional speaker. And whenever someone comes up to me after a speech and says, wow, how can I do what you do? Or what advice do you have for me? I always give them these 2 questions that my mentor gave me. The first is, do you believe in what you have to say? Like, do you believe in your message? Just like in my book, do I believe in what I wrote in that book? And number 2, Do you believe that what you have to say will be of value to the audience you're about to deliver it to? And if you can say yes to those two things, then the rest is your ego. You know, how will I sound? How will I look? Will I be good? Will they like me? That's all pride and ego talking. But if you have something of value that you believe in, then you let go of the rest.
And it's very important that we do believe in what we're talking about.
Yes.
And it's important that we not only believe in it, but that we walk our talk.
Oh, yes. Oh, my gosh. I've seen speakers before who are phenomenal on stage, so engaging, standing ovation. And then I remember one speaker, we were sharing we were on the same flight home, a cross-country trip, and all of a sudden, she was so rude and so mean to the gate agent getting on the plane. I thought, wow, who are you? And what did you do with my friend who I just witnessed as being a really engaging, dynamic speaker? So it's always good policy to practice what you preach, to walk your talk, to be your authentic, imperfect self. See, I think the best speakers in the world are the ones that get up on stage and who are so authentic that it's not about speaking perfectly, it's about being perfectly imperfect. And that's how you can engage and relate to your audience and they can relate to you.
Exactly, exactly. And obviously, the more we know our material and what we intend to say, the better we're going to be and the less fear we're going to have. Isn't that right?
Absolutely.
We're going to take a quick break here, and we'll be back with Marilyn Sherman very quickly.
Thank you for calling Denim Revival.
Hate to say goodbye to your favorite jeans? Well, now you don't have to, because Denim Revival is here for you. Mail us your jeans and our professionals will fix it right up. We offer you all kinds of alteration services, including invisible repairs, let-outs, taperings, and original hemming, or even have your own custom-made jeans. Quoted the best denim repair shop by GQ, Vogue Magazine, and LA Times. Denim Revival, your search for alteration and repair ends here.
Welcome back to the world of book reviews and beyond. Our guest tonight is Marilyn Sherman. Marilyn is the author of this book, Is There a Hole in Your Bucket List? And we're talking about the things that cause us to have holes in our bucket list. And Marilyn, you were saying earlier that sometimes it's not us that causes our hole in our bucket, but sometimes it's people outside ourselves that create the problems that we have.
Well, maybe you can relate to having a goal or a dream and then sharing it with someone who's not entirely positive or supportive. And maybe they have said to you, I know it's happened to me, oh no, that'll never work. Or who do you think you are thinking that you could accomplish that? Because when people write out their bucket list, sometimes they're really outrageous and they're really out there and they're really ambitious, which is what I recommend. But not everybody is on board the happy train with us, right? And they're not always encouraging. So I tell the story in the book about Judi Moreo, who is, she used to be a resident right here in Las Vegas. And her fascinating story came to me when I saw her perform in a private concert. She is a concert pianist, a virtuoso. She graduated from Juilliard. And after this concert, when I met her, I said, wow, you are phenomenal. How did you get from Las Vegas, being a mother of a daughter and married, and suddenly you're now in New York City, a graduate of Juilliard, the most prestigious college for art, right, and musicians and performing arts. And she said, I applied to Juilliard just to get it off my bucket list. I said, really? Can we talk? Because I have just finished the first draft of my book about, is there a hole in your bucket list? And this sounds fascinating to me. So I added her story in the book, and it's fascinating because she, as a little girl, she always wanted to go to Juilliard. Piano was her passion and her obsession. And she looked at posters in her room, you know, always dreaming of performing at Carnegie Hall and being this concert pianist. But her dad said, that's nice, but you know you can't make a living out of it. And because of that, it planted a seed of doubt in her that she could fulfill her passion and live her life as a concert pianist. So she put her dream in the drawer and put the applications to Juilliard in the drawer and forgot about them. And how many of us know people who put their dreams on hold, or they put their aspirations in a drawer, and then they go through life with other people's expectations for them, right? Well, she went to a course, How to Be a Life Virtuoso, by a friend of ours, Mike Rayburn. And he asked this question: what about you in your life that you need to forgive yourself for? And her answer was, with this reflection, her answer that came out of this was, I forgive myself for never applying to Juilliard. And then another question in the course was, what's in your deepest heart of hearts desire? And she said, to go to Juilliard. So at the end of that course, she was so moved by Mike that she went to him and said, I've made a decision, I'm applying to Juilliard. And for her, it was just so she can say, I've applied, I've done it, check it off the list. Much to her surprise, she was accepted.
Amazing.
And it changed her life. So not only did her husband support her by quitting his job and moving their whole family to New York City, but she graduated, and now she works on behalf of Juilliard as a concert pianist.
Isn't that amazing?
It's phenomenal. And to me, that's so inspiring, because Cherie's story gives us all hope that, okay, what is it that we really want to do? And why do we allow other people who have maybe fear and insecurity themselves project that onto us?
Yes.
So one way to patch that hole is to accept the fact that we've made decisions in the past, forgive ourselves for those decisions, and then go for it anyway.
Yes, exactly. I think sometimes parents discourage us because they don't want us to get hurt or disappointed, and they don't really quite believe the opportunity is there for us, so they discourage us. I don't think they ever intentionally mean to hurt us. I believe it just happens somehow like that.
And that's very common, because my first book, called Whose Comfort Zone Are You In?, was based on the fact that my dad actually had given me advice to not go for my dream, because I wanted to be a professional speaker. I was working full-time, making good money. And I said, Dad, I've got an interview to go work for a seminar company. What do you think? And he said, you're going to go take this job that, it's a Fortune 500, company that you work for, and you're going to leave it to go work independently with no benefits? And I said, yes, because it's what I really want to do. And he said, you've got a good job and you're making good money. Why don't you stay there? Because that finance company's not going anywhere.
But see, he meant well.
He totally meant well. My interpretation of his advice was, I love you so much that I don't want you to risk and fail.
Right.
I'm already proud of you. Why don't you stay doing what you're doing?
Exactly.
But his love was actually a deterrent. Well, that's not a deterrent. I could have allowed that to be a deterrent from following my dreams. Luckily, it worked out for me, and he was able to see that I did make a career of this. And he said, one day, this is the highlight of my career, he said, Marilyn, I'm glad you didn't listen to me.
Isn't that beneficial?
And not all parents do that for their children, and a lot of children grow up to be adults, and they carry around resentment and anger that they didn't get the support that they knew they needed.
Exactly, exactly. Let's take a quick break and have a word with our sponsors, and then we'll be right back with Marilyn Sherman and Is There a Hole in Your Bucket List? Welcome back. I'm Judi Moreo, and this is the World of Book Reviews and Beyond. And tonight we're really going beyond, because we are talking with Marilyn Sherman, and Marilyn is an international public speaker who's the author of this fabulous book, Is There a Hole in Your Bucket List? Welcome back.
Thank you.
Nice to have you here. I wanted to ask you if comparison is one of the holes in our bucket list. And the reason I want to ask you this is because as a child, I was the last child in a large family. And all I heard about all my life was you could be like Lois, or why aren't you more like Betty, or why don't you do this? And does that comparison to another person, does that affect everybody, or was it just me?
Oh, no, it's not just you, Judi. You are not alone. In fact, I'm the baby of a very large family as well. Comparison is one of the holes that we create in our bucket list, because when you look around, it's human nature to compare yourself to other people. The challenge is you never come out equal. When you compare yourself to another person, you are either better than or worse than, and neither one is healthy. And if you compare yourself to others and you like measure up or not, what happens is, if you don't measure up to someone you're comparing yourself to and think, oh my gosh, I could never be like that, or I could never have that, and look at how successful he is, look at how successful she is, and oh, I couldn't do that, that will stop you dead in your tracks. It doesn't move you forward. It doesn't serve you. So in order to get over the comparison trap, you recognize they are on their journey and you are on your journey. And if you are comparing yourself to someone else, you can't just compare yourself to what you see. You'd have to know their entire life. Exactly. And you don't know what their story is. You don't know what's behind closed doors. So to overcome that, I would say, look at someone who has what you want, and instead of allowing comparison to keep you from learning from them, you go to them, approach them, study them, and ask them, congratulations on all of your success, for example. What advice do you have for someone like me who one day wants to be in a position like you? So now you're not comparing yourself and you're not measuring up and why can't you be like so-and-so. You're building on your best self and then learning from others who have been there before you. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes. And what about comparing ourselves to where we were maybe this time last year or the year before?
Well, that's part of for me anyway, that's part of the shame hole. Because sometimes when we're not as far along as we wanted to be, like we haven't crossed off the things on our bucket list that are small goals and we thought we could accomplish it by now in this part of our life and we haven't done it yet, sometimes shame seeps in and that becomes one of the holes, and so that's not healthy either. So to compare yourself to where you were before, ask yourself, am I further along than I was in the past? If not, then there's hope. Let's move forward. Let's work on this. And if there are areas of your life that you have moved ahead, then celebrate that and then give yourself a break. I'm not where I was, and I'm not where I want to be, but it could be worse. It could, I mean, would you want to go back, 5 years, 10 years? Probably not, because you and I, we've come a long way since back in the day, right? So celebrate how far we've come and don't allow yourself to say, oh, but compared to last year, I've gone backwards, or compared to, Lois, I haven't done anything. That doesn't serve us.
No, it doesn't. And it's not just the speed at which we're moving forward, but the fact that we are moving forward.
Yes.
That's the important thing. To be focused forward and look where we're going and stay focused on getting there rather than looking back. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Well, I think what I really want to say is to focus on one thing, and it's really a theme in this book, and that is gratitude. If you focus on what you are grateful for what you have, you will move forward, because I believe once you appreciate, for example, the seat that you're in, then you're exposed to even better seats and better seats. But if you constantly complain about what you don't have and you complain about where you are in your life, you're not going to move forward at all.
Exactly.
So be very grateful for what you have. And I have a very specific suggestion if you're not feeling also grateful with where you are at this point of your life, and that is to get outside of yourself and serve someone who has less than you.
Yes.
When you see someone who has very little in terms of food or shelter, for example, it really puts your life into perspective. I say you can't walk in gratitude and sit in self-pity at the same time. No. So if you're
What a good thing.
Yeah.
Say that again. That's really good.
You can't walk in gratitude and sit in self-pity at the same time.
That is a great statement.
So if you ever feel self-pity or anger, resentment, or frustration, any of those things that could cause holes in your bucket list, you find a way to move into gratitude. And gratitude is a great way to patch up those holes.
Wow, that is a good statement, and it's so true.
Yep.
When we're grateful for who we are and what we have, it makes a big difference. And one of the things I know about you, Marilyn, is that you go and feed the homeless on a regular basis. I see pictures of you on Facebook doing these things. And so you really do walk your talk. You're not just saying, you know, we are in this position where we can talk about it, but we don't do it. But you do it, and I've seen you do it, and I'm very impressed.
Well, I do want to correct you. I never feed the homeless. What I do is I serve the homeless. Because my husband corrected me one time after a Thanksgiving feast. My sister called and said, "How was your Thanksgiving?" I said, "Oh, it was great. We went and fed the homeless." And he interrupted me, and he said, "No." I'm like, "I'm on the phone." He said, "No." He said, "Marilyn, you feed dogs and you serve the homeless."
Oh, that's wonderful.
And that makes all the difference in the world. So now every Saturday at Catholic Charities in Southern Nevada, that when I'm in town, we serve between 300 and 600 people. And before they open those doors, I always say okay to the rest of the volunteers. We're here today. Our mission for the day, our theme of the day is that we serve with joy and dignity. And when you get out of yourself and your own problems and you serve your human, you know, your neighbor, your fellow man who fell on hard times, and you serve with joy and dignity, it really puts your own situation into perspective.
It really does. And also when we travel the world, when we go to other places, when we visit other countries and we see how people live.
Oh, yeah.
I know when we were in El Salvador last year, we were painting, we repainted the church and the schoolhouse and the community center, and then we repainted about 25 homes for people who lived in them, and they were so thrilled just to get their homes painted. And you know, it wasn't a big thing to do it. It was fun for us. We really enjoyed it, but they were so thankful that it made such a difference in their lives, and it made a difference in our lives as well.
Well, I tell a story in the book about how my parents value education in the United States. So he granted, or both my mom and dad granted, an international trip to all the kids in my family between our junior and senior year of high school, so that we could see how other cultures lived and to really appreciate the United States of America. And what it did is it really shifted my perspective to know that we've got it good here, and now we can really take advantage of the opportunity here in the U.S.
Oh, yes. Marilyn, it's been such a pleasure having you on the show. Would you please give the viewing audience your website, or how they can contact you, or how they can get a copy of your book?
Sure. My website is www.marilynsherman.com, and they can contact me directly, or they can buy the book on Amazon. It's available on Amazon.com as well.
Right. Marilyn, thank you so much for being with us tonight. I've really enjoyed this interview and getting to know you a little bit better. You've been a great guest, and I appreciate it. And thank you for watching. And you can watch any of the segments of our shows on akexpertstv.com 24/7, akexpertstv.com. And until we see you again, remember, you are more than enough.